Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scaryish podcast. Today we have something very special. We have a special guest, Marsha.
Woo! She stole the woo this episode.
I'm Ramirez. This is Adam Diaz. We have a special guest. I should have introduced us first, but you know how it goes. Sometimes you're just too excited and you forget everything.
It's okay. I like that we introduce a special guest first. That's a good thing. So here's the thing. I think we've talked about Marsha on the show probably 10, 11 times. It's usually Robin bringing up horrible things I've done or said to Marsha, but we have been friends. Yeah, it's a lot. But we have been friends for a long time. We actually all met at the same GameStop. We all worked together. And we still hang out. Like, we're still friends. We're all together this week because we're going to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. It's Robin and I's first. It's Marsha's second? Third. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That's why you're a pro.
Yeah. So we asked her, like, hey, do you want to come on the show and be a guest? And she was just like, I don't really have any spooky experiences.
I don't. I wish. I don't.
Yeah. Some people are like, I wish I would have seen a ghost. But she asked, like, hey, can I do a topic? I was like, fuck yeah. And we thought back to, like, the fact that when we had the special guest episode with Faye had, like, personal experiences, and then she, like, mixed in a bit of history.
Right.
And, like, educated us. I was like, I really like being the audience. Like, I like being learned by someone. And I understand now why people listen to the show. So Marsha's going to do a topic for us. But before we do that, like, let's just sort of, like, ease into it. First and foremost, like, what have we been up to this last week?
Comic-Con.
Prepping for Comic-Con.
Prepping for Comic-Con.
So
going
much
to
prep
Comic-Con.
for Comic-Con.
Stress trying to get tickets for events.
My stress for preparing for Comic-Con is getting text messages from Marsha. Like, this thing's going on. Because you've been all over the Discord, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I've been attached Discord every single minute I could.
So for people who've never been to Comic-Con or are going to be going to an event, like, what advice would you give them for things like with a Discord, since you're such a fucking pro at it at this point?
I'm not even that big of a pro. And it's all because of Ralph. Ralph is who
Shout
got
out
me
to Ralph.
into it
Who
last
has also
year.
been on the show
Yeah.
before.
And it's just getting into a good group of Connors. I guess that's what we can call them.
They are only named Connor.
That are only named Connor, yeah. But getting into a good group that knows what they're, been there before, all this stuff. Like, I kept getting links for things ahead of time, or, like, knew the information immediately before, like, the blog did. So keeping up with that and just, that's how you plan.
We have a bunch of events that we were actually able to get into that are, like, off-site. Some are on-site. So, like, tomorrow this isn't something that we bought tickets for it, but we're going to Adventure Zone tomorrow, which should be fun. We're going to do, like, an after-hours event for Jury Duty, the TV show on Amazon, which is fucking hilarious. Like, it's such a good show. We have a Good Omens event that we're going to.
Yeah.
And then there's just some other shit, too. And it's mainly, like, last year we didn't get in, but you got in.
Yeah.
We had a few things we were able to do off-site, like not at the actual convention itself. But this year, man, I feel like we got into a ton of shit.
Yeah.
So it's been super helpful. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your service. Because honestly, like Robin will send me some, and then Marsha will send me some. I'm just like sitting here like working, like, where the fuck are they finding this? And I'm in the same Discord as you guys, but you guys are just like on top of it. So good work. What are you most excited about for Comic-Con?
I think we've done a lot of it already.
Yeah, it's day one, and we already knocked out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we bought a lot of things already.
Yeah. There's a Blizzard booth. I was able to get a Lilith candle for Diablo 4, so I was super psyched about that.
Yeah.
So you barely got in. We went into the UCC booth, which has like all the pop toys and shit. And like she stood in line. They capped the line, which means no one else can get in the line. And then Robin was like, no, you have to let her in. Like, let her in.
She's a tiny human.
Yeah, I was like, slide this tiny human in there. It's not even that. You just do it.
And it was like some, like, younger, nerdy kid. And it's like, here, let pretty girl stand at back of line. He was like, okay. So he let her in. And then we were, like, timing it out. We stood there while she was in line. Like, okay, if the hall closes at 9, they're going to kick us the fuck out. And one guy was like, we're trying to get through everyone. And so you wound up getting up there right when they were making the announcement. Yeah. Like, everyone get the fuck out. So you were able to get up there and get all the stuff from UCC.
Yeah, I was like one of the last people. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was close. Like, they were literally having the security walk by people that weren't making purchases and telling them to get the fuck out.
I think today or this week has been lucky because all of our stuff has been like, the last people. And
you know what was cool today? Meeting Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
We met
Forget
Kevin
about
Smith,
that.
Like,
Yes.
fucking writer and director of Clerks, Dogma, Mallrats, all of those movies. Like, super fucking cool. Maybe I'll post a picture of me and Robin and you and him That way people can see. He's just super cool guy. I nerded out. I definitely I wanted to say a lot of things, but we didn't know we were going to meet him. We went to like a pop-up restaurant. It was a surprise, yeah. Yeah, for Mubi, which is like the character within his like world.
It seems like the people behind us too. Well, once he left, it seems like the people that came in didn't necessarily get to meet him. It was that specific time. It was.
We were just lucky that he was outside of the line taking pictures with fans. That was just
he just went down the line, introduced himself, said hi to everyone. He held their camera, took a bunch of pictures. And like, I really wanted to tell him, like, you know, I think you're great. Like, you're why I got into like writing. Like, I used to watch Dogma like every fucking day.
But he's like, I got a business to run. I'm going through.
He was clearly busy, but he was not rushing me in any way, shape, or form. But I was just like, I love you.
Yeah.
Movie Dogma, good. And he was like, cool, man. Thank you so much. And then we took like 3 pictures together. And then he insisted that Robin be in one with me too. Like, he was just very, very nice. So
he was very nice.
We are blessed. Yeah.
I will say this though, okay, since we're like giving you guys a recap of like our Comic-Con experience, it hasn't been the luckiest because we got our tickets last year, like September-ish, I think is when they went on sale. And then we booked an Airbnb because we were also going with the JJ Obsession.
Yeah, and they were amazing enough to book it for us and set all this stuff. Yeah,
you know, big amount of dollars that, you know, a bunch of people split up. I think we're going to have 7 people under one roof. And then, like, for a couple of days, we're going to have 9 people, but the place is big enough to accommodate. And then, on Wednesday, the day before day 1, we got a message from the person that owns the Airbnb saying, you can't stay at my Airbnb, and canceled the fucking reservation. So we had to do so much scrambling on Wednesday to figure out what we were going to do. Like, the refund hadn't even processed yet, and we're trying to figure out money going back to people. That way we could, like, actually book accommodations. And in the end, we're just staying at our house and driving to San Diego every day. So it's just been like, it was definitely a horrible day on Wednesday until we got down to the con. And once we got down there for preview night, then things like kind of settled in, like, okay, this is fun. But yeah, that was not fucking cool. Like, I seriously was like, if we book another Airbnb, why they can just do this to us again, you know? And like the price that we paid a year ago to book the fucking thing was a normal rate. And now that they canceled it, we found out that like, because they canceled it, they could be fined $1,000, but they're increasing the rate per night from like $200 to like $1,500 a night.
Yeah.
Which means if they rent it for one night, they pay their fine and they just move on with their lives. So I was just like, I'm just going to book a hotel from now on. Like, fuck Airbnb. Like, I can't believe that's the only penalty these people get. I'm sure if they do it often enough, they like will lose like stars or whatever and they'll not be able to rent, but that sucked. That was a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the JJ Obsession for being super cool and like trying to plan this. I like woke up yesterday and had like a message that was just like, oh no, it's been canceled. And I called Robin because she was at work and her and Jess were already trying to figure out what to do. And and Marsha and her fiance were sleeping in our guest room. And I was like, I'm going to let them sleep before I break them the bad news. I'm going to make them breakfast. I'm going to serve them like biscuits and gravy with eggs. And I'm going to be like, so bad news, guys. And then we're just like, oh, whatever, we'll figure it out.
What's been really cool this week, too, is going around the Gas Lamp District, which is incredibly haunted. As Adam and Marsha have pointed out.
We walked by like the Grand something hotel, which I've covered on the show before.
The Horton Grand.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I covered that. And like I gave like a little bit of background information. You can hear the ghost scratching at the door in the background. That's our dog wanting in the office right now. But yeah, I was just like, oh, I covered that, blah, 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 blah. And we literally walked like half a block further. And then there was something on our right that Marsha had seen during a ghost tour. And she gave us like the entire background of it. And I honestly, when you're talking, I was like, is she full of shit? Is she just making this up right now? And then we got right next to it. And there's like a plaque that says everything that Marsha had just told us, like on the wall of it. What did we walk by that you knew about?
It was, I don't even know what it was called, honestly. But it's now a history museum. But it's part of the ghost tour down in Gaslamp. It used to be, I guess, I don't know. I don't know what it was called, honestly. When I walked past it, I knew what it was because I remembered seeing it. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, and she literally like tapped on the sign like, this is it. This is what it says.
Like, I told you, bitches. Yeah, and we're thinking like maybe if we can squeeze time in, we can try and do like a haunted tour or a ghost tour or something. Because San Diego, we've covered a lot of topics in San Diego.
It's a very haunted place. It's a good time for ghost tours.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really, really nice out at night, so. But that said, you know, that's the background for what's been going on with us and like the fucking crazy shit that's been happening since Comic-Con started. But so before we get to Marsha's topic, I did want to have a quick corrections corner because we had a couple of things given to us by a friend of mine who listens to the show. He wanted to let us know a couple of things very specifically. First is that bear baiting is not what we thought. It turns out bear baiting is not jerking off a bear in wild. or in public. I don't know. It has nothing to do with masturbating a bear, which means it's a very stupid name.
It's not, them feeding bears or anything like that. It's like cockfighting for bears.
Yeah, it's like bullfighting type of thing too, where it's like you're basically just luring a bear to fight it and torture it.
Yeah.
So that sucks, and yeah, I don't support bear baiting in that case. The other thing was when I was talking about the Zionist thing, I was giving you guys a historical account of like how like the Zionist, the anti-Zion movement is connected to the Freemasonry. Apparently nowadays too, like there's this new like pro-Zionist movement, which is like secretly I shouldn't say secretly, it's like pretty obviously an anti-Zionist movement. It's basically folks who are like, I love Jews, send them all to Israel. And it's just like a way of trying to rid yourself of them by like saying like, oh yeah, you guys should all go live in the same place. So they support them having a homeland as long as they go there. And I was like, I didn't even know this. I don't have that much of an online presence because online is a very horrible and toxic place.
It's super Twitter right now is very toxic.
Yeah, but like my buddy, he is the internet, so he has all this information. We used to always like joke. We'd be like getting drunk. We'd like think of a question, and it was before cell phones could just Google shit. So we'd be like, Stefan, Google this. And he'd like touch his temple and tell us the answer. So yeah, he let me know some of this information. But I just want to toss that out there for Corrections Corner. FYI, Corrections Corner isn't a real thing. So if you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to correct them on a bunch of shit.
Don't even.
Please don't. We did get one correction from a fan of the show, longtime fan, who was just like, the first queen from Henry VIII didn't wind up in the Tower of London. She wound up in like different places, but she was not actually in the Tower of London.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Right on. Like, it's confusing. He had a lot of fucking wives. And he was a monster. So he treated all of them very poorly.
Weren't there 6?
Yes, there were 6, as we referenced in the last show.
They were 6.
They were 6. We're going to turn this episode over to Marsha. It's going to go into Marsha's hands, and she's going to educate us all on something. What's going to be your topic tonight, Marsha?
So this evening, we will be discussing Lalaurie Mansion.
Okay. Awesome. We've had this on our topic list for a while.
And so when Marsha brought up that she wanted to cover this topic, I was so excited. I was like, yes, perfect topic.
There's some of them like, that'll be really good, but it's going to require a lot of research. And like, I'll try and look for other things that are like not necessarily as research heavy. So when you volunteered, I was like, yes, set her loose on this one.
That's why you made me do this one.
And I was like, research heavy. Let's let Marsha handle it. All
right. Yeah, no, it was, I think we're going to have a good topic tonight.
Okay.
Now, it is dark. It is not a light topic. So
you said there's going to be trigger warnings in this one, right?
There's going to be a couple trigger warnings. So we need to strap on and...
Yeah.
Hot.
Yes, and get into this. So first, we are going to talk about where it is. So it is located in the French quarters of New Orleans, Louisiana, at 1140 Royal Street.
Oh, nice.
If you want to go to it, it's right there. And you're going to love this. It is one of the most haunted places in the most haunted city.
Of course
it was like at the top.
But is it the most haunted state? It's like most haunted city in the 47th most haunted state would be super lame.
A TBH, I don't know much else in Louisiana other than New Orleans. What
New
else
Orleans.
Is there?
Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, their capital.
The capital, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all I got. Okay. I was like, I know Auburn, I think, is down there. I'm thinking of universities that are from Louisiana, but I'm not quite sure. So.
Yeah, I don't know
New
anything. New
Orleans,
that's it.
Yeah.
Very super famous city, though. So
yeah. You might have also heard about this on American Horror Story, Coven. So
yeah. It's crazy old lady, right?
Yes, Kathy Bates.
Right.
She plays Lalaurie, Miss Delphine. But it's a fictionalized version. So what you see in the Coven is not what really happens.
So it's not a documentary.
So you're saying she didn't keep slaves and tortured them?
No, that was true.
Okay, cool. So you're saying it wasn't Kathy Bates that did that?
It was not Kathy Bates who did that.
Okay, cool. Good to know. I've been boycotting her shit ever since I saw that season, so I feel stupid now.
It's so funny. All right, so we're going to start with the Madame. Because this story truly goes around Delphine. So Delphine McCarthy Lalaurie is a wealthy New Orleans socialite and notorious enslaver. She was born March 19th in 1787 in New Orleans, so she is born and raised there, during the Spanish colonial period. So this is when the Spanish were running the parts of America. So, and a little bit about it, they were running it from 1492 to 1832.
Wow.
So they still have a while of running Louisiana. around this time period, around 1832, just another like little history like fact that I found out, because
Knowledge
this was
nuggets.
it was so, there's so much stuff that happened during this time period. The Spanish returned the Louisiana back to France a few months before it was sold to the U.S. in the Louisiana Purchase in 1803.
Napoleon sold it to us, right? He was just
Good
like,
question.
sorry,
I did not look that part up.
I remember this part because I covered something else too. There was like a slave rebellion in Jamaica, I think. And he was just like, oh, this is too much work. And so like the U.S. went down there to buy just Louisiana. And they asked Napoleon, like, hey, will you sell us Louisiana? He's like, just take everything. And he like sold us like a third of the country. And they're like, we just want Louisiana. He's like, nope. Like, I have no interest in this side of the Atlantic Ocean. I'm going back to France. Take all of it. And like the money they took down there, they gave it to him. He's like, it's like, it would be like if you went to fucking Costco, like, hey, I'm here for some toilet paper. They're like, here's the keys to the store. Like, fuck this place. Like, that's basically what Napoleon did.
Wow. Why?
Wow.
Because he just didn't want anything to do with the Americas anymore. He just wanted to rule France and Europe and, like, spread. And he was not having a good time with his war. And he needed fucking money.
Imagine this alternate history where he was like, no, I want to keep America.
It'd be very different, for sure.
We'd
So,
all speak Spanish.
Would we?
I don't know.
He was French. So.
Oh, we would all
Yeah.
speak French.
Yeah.
Oui.
In Louisiana,
mon ami.
it was before the Spanish had it. It was with France. So there's a lot of French New Orleans. So that is very big down there.
Hence the French Quarter.
Yeah.
Shut.
That's all French.
God damn it. Guys, I know nothing of history. Oh my God.
Robin's head just exploded.
All right. So Delphine was one of 5 children born to Louis Bartholomew de McCarty, who was knighted as a Chevalier de McCarthy. And then Marie-Jeanne L'Herblay.
Nice.
Please excuse my French.
That sounded better than what I normally do. So
Yeah, I do not know how to speak French. I apologize for however I'm going to mess up these names.
You're fine. You're good.
Yeah. You know, when we read our scripts and we read names and things like that, it's usually like read a name one way and then read it 3 other ways.
Yeah.
And then
Robin will
corrected.
Robin will do 2 or 3 takes usually, and I do 2 and then give up. I'm like, whichever one of those worked, because the next one comes out of my mouth is gonna be so much worse. They deteriorate.
He'll say the hard name. So if it's a hard last name, he'll be like, we're going to call him Bob.
Yeah.
His
If
name's
their
gonna
name
be
is
Bob.
if their name is
call him
like
Bob.
Robert blah 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 blah, like we're calling him Bob from now on. His name is Bob because it's just too much for me.
Yeah.
Too much from my mouth.
Well, prepare. There's more French names coming up,
Okay.
so it doesn't get any better. So the parents were prominent in New Orleans European Creole community. So Creole, I know like we've heard like Creole cooking, things like that. It was usually originally used by French Creoles to distinguish people born in Louisiana from those who were not born in Louisiana.
Okay.
So like if you were a Creole, like you were as original as you can get in Louisiana.
Oh,
Okay.
I did not realize that's what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's
I have
interesting.
Creole seasoning, so I'm gonna check and see where it was made. See if it's authentic now.
I think now when it comes to Creole seasonings and stuff, it's based on the flavors of,
Bam.
yeah, you know, not necessarily made there.
Okay, I guess.
Is it? But yeah. So what if you find a Creole seasoning not made?
I'm going to throw it in the garbage and go buy some Creole seasoning from Louisiana.
Okay, so Delphine's first husband, his name was Don Ramon de Lopez y Angulo. Again, I'm sorry. High-ranking Spanish royal officer. He married Delphine on June 11th, 1800. So just want to remind everyone, she was born in 1787.
So she was 13.
She's 13.
She was 13.
Wow.
And
What a
this
dirty
man was a
bastard.
35-year-old widow.
Wow, Robin the Cradle. That's fucked
Yeah.
up.
I thought you were going to say something about me. Because you
What?
said Robin.
Oh, that's funny.
Robin. I was like, yeah, I guess you are older than me. I don't know.
No, not like that. Jesus.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah, so she was really young when she got married to
That's
this
like
older
that
gentleman.
Amy Poehler Tina Fey skit on SNL back in the day where it's like, meet your second wife. And it's like 3 dudes who are happily married and they bring out the girls who will be their second wives because they like know the future. And the first one is like a teenager and the guy's just like, I love my wife. They're like, yes, but in 12 years. And like, but the second one is like in 5th grade. No, she's 5 years old. They're like, how old are you? She's like, this many. And he's like, no, this isn't happening. Except back in the day, that's like exactly what happened to this chick.
Gross.
So they were married in 1800. And then told you guys in 1803, the Louisiana Purchase happened. So in 1804, 4 years later, when the U.S. acquired New Orleans and Louisiana Purchase, Don Ramon was called back to Spain. Okay. So Delphine was pregnant at the time that he got called back to Spain. And they had stopped in Cuba where he died suddenly.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he, a few days later, their daughter was born. And after a burial service, she ended up returning to New Orleans.
So this 17-year-old is in Cuba. Her husband dies. She has her kid, and she's like, I'm going home. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So he died on January 11th of 1805. So he was supposed to, he got called back in 1804 to go back to Spain. But he was a widower because I didn't delve too much into it, but something with the Spanish army had to do with how his wife died. What? So he decided to stay back a couple months and wait to return into 1805 because he was pissed off.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So, yeah, he died by his boat hitting a sandbar off the shores of Havana.
Wow. So, like, not even, like, poison or anything like that. It was just straight up an accident.
Yeah, it was a straight up accident.
Wow.
Havana una na.
Wow.
Okay, so the daughter Marie Delphine Francesca Borge Lopez y Angulo de la Candelaria.
What?
Wow, that's a name.
That is,
yes. So Delphine named her daughter all these names, and part of the names was Ramon's deceased wife, and this was to honor her.
Oh, that's actually really nice of her.
Yeah, so it was really nice of her, right?
And I assume once he died, she inherited everything, like from him, all the money and things like that.
He was in the army, but he wasn't like rich.
Okay,
she was rich. Her parents are socialites in New Orleans.
Nice.
So
Gotcha.
So after this happened, after the burial service, she went straight back to New Orleans. So back to mom and dad. Then in 1807, she married her second husband. This one was Jean-Paul Blancou, a Frenchman and also another widower.
Wow.
She's got a type.
I was going to say, she has a type for sure.
And she was wed on her 20th birthday in 1807.
Okay.
So 2 marriages by the time she's 20.
2 marriages and a kid.
2 marriages and a kid.
2 widowers under her belt by the time she's 20. Wow.
And in the same year, her mother passed away, and her mother left her an inheritance.
So she has a lot of money now.
So now she has, everything that from her mom's half of the estate, she has all that money.
I feel like this. I'm right at home with this topic because we've been watching a lot of Bridgerton. So it's like a lot of fucking socialites and inheritances and hot people fucking. So
I don't know if this has hot people fucking.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about Bridgerton now.
Oh, okay.
My mind went there thinking about season 1. Like, oof,
The Duke.
The Duke.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Did you guys watch Queen Charlotte? Please tell me.
Not yet.
Oh
no.
my God.
We're trying to get through season 2.
Wait, are you telling me the
Bridgerton.
sex is in that one?
I
too?
mean,
we were told it's very sad, and I kind of understand why at the point we're at.
It's sad. Yeah, because he is based off of like King George, and if you know King George, he was actually mentally ill, and he had like some issues. So this is kind of, I mean, obviously it's fictionalized, history, but it has some truth to it. So it's like to see the mental illness and how they take care of it.
And you're like, dude, you got to watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, but no, it's really sweet. It's such a good story.
Because they love each other.
And also the girl who plays Queen Charlotte, amazing, beautiful. Oh, God. The costume design, the hair design was just amazing.
Every time we watch like every episode, Robin's like, the people who do the costume design on this show are fucking incredible.
You're going to see Queen Charlotte's dresses and her hair and like oh my God, all her hair pieces. And you're going to be like, this needs awards. Like, it is so good.
Wow.
Yeah, you should watch Queen Charlotte.
We will definitely be doing that soon.
Because we're on like
so much shit to watch.
We're on the last episode of Bridgerton.
We're on the last episode? No, wait, we have 2 left, I think.
2. Okay,
Of
we have 2
season 2.
episodes.
Yeah, and then we got to finish up Jury Duty, and then we got to watch Ghosts, and then we have a really long list of anime.
We got to see who gets sucked off.
Yeah, we got to figure out this Ghost show.
It's so good.
Yeah, she watches this show called Ghosts on CBS, and you can watch it on Paramount Plus.
Yes.
And like we didn't know anything about it, and we were like trying to get into an event, and it's just like find out like theories. There's like a panel where they're just gonna sit down and talk about like who they think got sucked off or went down at the end of season 2, and we're like, what the fuck is this talking about? And then she explained to us like it's like going to heaven or hell.
Yeah.
Somehow they say it means to get sucked off or go down.
It's just a lot of the ghosts are old and they don't know what they never like had like all this research done on ghosts, so they were like sucked off. That is the term that they use because they were like they get sucked off.
That's so funny.
It is hilarious.
And it's a CBS show. Like kids watch this.
Whoever's listening to this episode is gonna be like, how many times are they gonna say
sucked off? I can put a sucked off counter on this episode where it just dings every time we say it. So
oh my god, could we be like South Park and see how many times we could say sucked off?
We should make it into a drinking game. Every time we say sucked off, take a shot.
They would be really drunk right now with how many times we've said sucked off.
They'd probably be throwing up. Like, please don't say sucked off again.
Oh god, they said sucked off again.
There you go. Robin's like, no, please no more.
I'm trying not to say it.
She's getting sucked off.
Yeah. She's going to heaven is what she said.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, so Jean Paul, this Frenchman, he wasn't like the best kind of guy. This guy was really shady. He was a ruthless businessman involved in unethical activities, unknown to Delphine. So what I've gained from research was they thought he kind of viewed her inheritance as a financial opportunity.
Okay.
So kind of a reason they probably got married. He was often associated with two notorious pirate brothers, Jean and Pierre Lafayette. And I feel like I've heard those pirate names before.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We should make a pirate podcast because those guys.
But I mean, Louisiana's right there, right?
Yeah, right in the Gulf of Mexico.
You know, so I could totally see pirates just being like
pirates
all up in that shit.
Of the Caribbean being there.
God damn it.
What? Where do you think they got the fucking name from, Robin?
Have you guys done you guys haven't done like the Flying Dutchman or like...
We might
No,
have.
I think I've done the Flying Dutchman.
We've done Blackbeard.
We've done Blackbeard.
That's about it. I think that's our pirate.
I have never done Captain Phillip.
Captain
well,
Phillip.
now you gotta
add
add Jean and Pierre.
Yeah,
that guy.
I've never done
the hostage situation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Pirates aren't as fun as they used to be.
I was gonna say, like, what did you think pirates did back then?
Not all of them are asking where the rum is.
Exactly. I imagine they're all wearing mascara and just looking to drink rum.
How does the song from Pirates of the Caribbean go?
Which one?
The one when you ride the ride.
Yo ho, the pirate's life for me.
We pilfer, embezzle, and even hijack. They're not friendly.
I mean, that's like corporate America. You just named off everything like every Fortune 500 company does.
That's fucked up.
Fucking pirates. Ugh, they're the worst.
Well, these two brothers were the same.
She's like, let me get back to my topic now, assholes.
How dare you? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so Jean and Pierre Lafayette. They kind of seem kind of interesting. I wish you should look into them.
Right, we'll add them on to our list of possible true crime.
Yeah, so it's believed that Jean Paul, he arrived in New Orleans with his own agenda. At the time, Delphine had an inheritance of around $33,000, which in today's money,
yes,
so
is $867,000 plus some money.
That's a lot of fucking money.
$867,000.
It's almost $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And she also inherited a large plantation.
Oh, shit.
So she's baller.
And she has land.
She's a baller. Yeah. Okay, so during this time, she purchased a 2-story townhouse and had 5 children together with Jean Paul. So
wow.
She now
has
6 babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so she marries this dude who people are saying are looking at her as a financial opportunity, but then he lays her with 5 kids, and now they have 6 kids.
Yeah.
Bro. He must have liked something about her, right?
Oh, yeah, I can tell you which thing.
I mean, yeah. Back in that day, did they really need to like them? I feel like men were just, repulsive.
I mean, men are pretty repulsive today.
I was going to say.
I was like, they just kind of took what they wanted. Women were, objects, property back then, too?
Yeah.
I think it was like a sign of status, like, oh, look at all the kids that I've, like, pumped into my wife. It's like, I must be better than you because I have more children than you type of thing.
Yeah.
There's like more opportunity to like marry people off to like bring in money and shit like that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That's true.
Makes sense.
So 10 years into their marriage, Jean passes away at 50 years old.
50?
Yeah. I could not find reason for death. I looked at the death certificate and everything. Could not find it. But I read a short article on Jean and Pierre. And I believe that the other Jean, Delphine's Jean, because it's confusing how many there are.
Yeah.
He ratted them out.
Oh, shit.
And tried to get them in trouble. And
so
they ended
him.
up getting away from like whatever situation. They didn't get in trouble by the law. They didn't get, put in jail. But he disappeared.
Wow. So he ratted them out.
Yeah.
They got away, and then he vanished.
Yeah. So
That's messed up.
He got what he had coming to him, sounds like.
Snitches get stitches?
Yeah, that's a saying. That's a thing.
he left his quote-unquote estate to Delphine, which consisted of a large amount of debt, totaling about $2.5 million today.
Holy shit.
So how is she going to make up all that money? She only has $800K.
I don't know.
So, to keep her property, she had to renounce their joint properties and forfeit all mutual assets. And then she spent the next 10 years paying off his debt.
Wow.
What a great dude.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
This was husband of the year.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. Whew.
Wow.
So after all that happened, her father passed away in 1824, leaving her a large inheritance.
Okay.
So this was the 10 years after she paid off the debt. So she left her a large inheritance. We'll get back to what he left her. And then now she meets her third husband.
Is he a widower?
So, no. This guy. Get this
fucking guy.
This guy is younger.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Now she's robbing the crib.
Yeah.
And he's a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Oh, moving up in the world.
Dr. Leonard Louis Nicholas Lalaurie.
Wow.
So he's not French.
Lalaurie
French?
sounds
He doesn't
kinda
sound
French.
French.
It didn't really say anything. I didn't look up his like whole history either.
Okay. His name
But
seems just so American.
Yeah.
so he met her at her chiropractic appointment in 1825.
They had chiropractors in 1825?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm sure they snap people's necks more often than they do now, though.
Like people actually got hurt during it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That would suck.
So they were married on June 25th, 1825, and he was 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's close to her age then. She's
She's, I think at this point, she was born in 1787, it's 1825. I think
mind.
she's like 35 or something like that.
Okay.
Somewhere in her 30s.
she hit her cougar years and she went hunting.
Now she's
you think
going.
that's cougar years?
35 is technically
For
a
a
cougar.
23-year-old back in that day, though?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
She's
she
like-
got married at 13.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just
I can
saying.
see that. But like right now, if I were to date somebody who was like 25, I don't think I'd be a cougar.
If you were 35, you would be a cougar.
No
But like this is
freaking
the
way.
thing, like if you adjust for inflation backwards into the 1825,
Okay.
she was a cougar.
She was
like
like
18.
55 at that point.
She's like way up there now. She's in her golden ages now.
All right. All right.
Yeah. So they had one son together. I couldn't find like real information about this, but it's possible that she was pregnant before they got married, so it was like an out of wedlock situation. So I think they did that's why they got married so fast.
Okay.
Yeah. So they signed a marriage contract because she was worth over $66,000, which is over $2 million today.
So she signed a prenup.
She signed a prenup.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she made sure this time.
She was like,
no
my
man-
third
yeah.
husband is going to be the one I want.
Yeah. She was like, you're not leaving me with your freaking debt. But this marriage wasn't good either.
Oh,
so
no.
they frequently fought and they separated before returning to each other. And this happened several times. And this was the start, they say, of when she started treating her slaves cruelly.
Oh, she's like taking out her frustrations on that.
Yeah.
Before, she was totally a cool slave owner, we're led to believe, but now is when she gets real fucked up.
Yeah. So the third husband is where the mansion comes in. So now we get to our story.
And that's the one on Royal Street.
Yes. Okay. So in 1831, Delphine bought the property at 1140 Royal Street. She built a 2-story mansion, and that was finished in 1832. She managed to have little involvement with her husband in the whole thing. So this is Delphine. Delphine built this property. This is her house, basically. She maintained a central position in New Orleans society, hosting lavish parties with socialites. So she loved to be the belle of the ball. She loved to host these big shindigs and have everyone know who she is. And then in November 16th of 1832, Delphine petitioned the courts asking for separation from the bed and board of her husband. Yeah.
So she's still going to stay married, but they're separated?
She didn't want to live with him anymore.
Yeah. So she didn't file for a divorce. They filed for separation.
Okay.
Yeah. She was like, can't live with this man. He claimed he treated her poorly and beat her once, rendering their life situation insupportable. Yeah.
So she's like, he put his fucking hands on me. I want him gone.
Yeah. He was like, he's not being supportive for me. Like, okay. So her son and 2 daughters, the ones that were from Jean, they confirmed the claims were true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're on their mom's side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So even the son ratted his dad out.
Good.
He was no good, man.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. So for the next few years, many New Orleans residents recounted that her slaves were haggard and wretched in appearance when they saw them.
Wow.
In public, however, Delphine was generally polite to African Americans and showed consideration of her slaves' health. So to everyone's face, she was like, "Oh, I worry, I care." That was
total bullshit.
Yeah, total
Just
bullshit.
a front.
So rumors, however, continued about her slaves. And then in just 4 years of her being at this mansion, the funeral registry had 12 slaves that were registered with death from her.
So 4 years. So she's averaging 3 slaves passing away per year.
Yeah. Wow. And the deaths for those were never mentioned. Like, they did not record how they died.
They just recorded that they
12
died.
slaves had died. Yeah,
Wow.
12 slaves had died. Yeah. So deaths included a cook laundress named Bonnie and her 4 kids. So out of the 12, at least the 5 of them were a mom and her 4 kids.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
What a monster.
Seriously.
And so more rumors spread of mistreatment, resulting in a lawyer being dispatched to the mansion to remind Lalaurie of the laws of the upkeep of slaves. So they had laws in place by this time period so that, they couldn't just murder their slaves. They had to...
How crazy is that?
I know.
They had rules that you had to treat these slaves a certain way. You can't just brutally do whatever you want to them.
But they didn't see them as people.
Yeah. How crazy is that?
It just shows, like, they knew they were doing something wrong, but they're just like, how much do we want to admit it? Like, well, let's have laws in place where you can't be that bad to someone, but you can still keep them as a slave, as your property. Like, they clearly fucking knew, like, this isn't cool, and that's why they had shit like that in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't understand it.
It's a hard thing to understand,
yeah.
like, 200 and some years later, but still, it's like, so, like, relatively in historical terms, like, 200 years is not a long time ago. And to fathom something like this was like commonplace is fucking insane.
So while this lawyer was there, he found no evidence of mistreatment. He couldn't find anything. But she was still fined $300. And she sold a number of enslaved people following the investigation. So she was, I guess,
getting rid of the evidence.
Yeah, getting rid of the evidence.
Wow.
So
those people were probably just so happy to get out of there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, due to the rumors, socialites were no longer eager to participate in her social events or interact with her family at all. So everything that kept spreading around, even with these socialites who probably also owned slaves, they couldn't handle it. So they started not trying to be anywhere near her.
Wow. So she's just becoming more isolated now. I have a feeling this is going to make things worse.
Maybe. So following the visit from the lawyer, a neighbor reported a young girl fell from the roof of her mansion while trying to avoid punishment from a quote-unquote whip-wielding Lalaurie.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
She would rather jump off the building.
Instead of
that's intense cruelty at that point.
It was believed she was brushing Madame Laurie's hair and she hit a snag, which resulted in the unfortunate act to unfold. She hit a snag.
So basically what happens every time you brush someone's hair.
You had a knot in her hair and she accidentally hit it and that's it.
She just lost it.
Yep.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah. So her name was Leah. And she was believed to be between 10 and 12 years old.
Oh my God. And it's a child.
Holy shit.
And she was buried on the mansion grounds.
Wow.
So she's laid to rest in the place where the torture for her probably entire life happened.
I mean, that place has to be super haunted.
Yeah, without a doubt.
American Horror Story vibes, right? Like the hotel and the house where everyone kind of is stuck there.
Yeah, I mean, you already have a bunch of people at this point have not been able to leave this property alive. So this led to an investigation of the family, who were found guilty of illegal cruelty and were forced to forfeit 9 slaves.
Okay, so 9 more.
The 9 slaves that they had, they forfeited. However, they were later returned to the mansion by an immediate relative who had bought them back and returned them to the residence.
I was going to say, they're going to go back up for sale. And someone could buy them and give them back.
They looked the other way when this immediate family member went and bought them and put them back to
That's so fucked up. Like, those people thought they were, like, going to go somewhere else at the very least, and then they just got brought right back to her.
How heart-wrenching would that be?
Oh, my God. I can't fucking even imagine.
Imagine being a person, though, and you're just getting sold back and forth.
Yeah, you're just being tossed around.
It's horrific.
I can't. Yeah.
This one's heart-wrenching.
This is
I'm glad you told us to strap on before this, because, like, I kind of did mentally, but now I'm like, okay, I need to, like, prepare myself for more.
This is, like, mistreatments of human beings to the absolute core. We got to strap on a little bit harder. I'm so glad we made
you do the research for this one.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So we're now to the fire at Lalaurie Mansion.
Oh, no.
So this is the next big part.
There's a fire?
Uh-huh. There were stories that Delphine kept her cook chained to the kitchen stove. And when her daughters attempted to feed any of the slaves, she beat them as well.
What the frick?
Several people often reported her daughters seemed very quiet and very pale.
So her daughters are being
own daughter.
abused now because they're like, you can't do this shit.
They're not even able to handle what's going on in the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you, I mean, they're young. What are you supposed to do when your parents are the ones being monsters?
Yeah.
Yeah. So April 10th, 1834, that's the day the public found out the truth of what went on behind Lalaurie Mansion. A fire broke out at the mansion on this day, and police and firefighters arrived and found the blaze had started in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
They discovered a 70-year-old cook chained to the stove by her ankle. She later told authorities she had set the fire as a suicide attempt because she feared being punished.
So another person trying to kill themselves to get away from her.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The cook informed the police that when slaves were taken to the uppermost room, they never came back. And then Dr. Lalaurie, who was supposed to be separated from Delphine, was present at the house the day of the fire.
Okay.
So we have told you that the cook was chained. She tried to kill herself, which now brought everyone here. And Dr. Lalaurie is here.
And he's supposed to be living somewhere else entirely.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be. That's why bed and board or whatever he said. Yeah. Interesting. April 11th.
Oh, no.
Several bystanders attempted to enter the slave quarters, wanting to ensure everyone was evacuated. They were refused entry by the Lalauries. They literally would not give them the keys.
Wow.
So they had to break down the doors, and what they found was a torture chamber.
Oh, my God. I have goosebumps.
So we get to our first trigger warning. If you are squeamish, please skip the next 30 to 60 seconds. When they busted down this door to this torture chamber, they found 7 slaves in prison, in the room, mutilated, and alive.
Oh my God.
Suspended by the neck, their limbs stretched and torn from one extremity to the other.
What the
what? Just drawing and quartering them.
Mm-hmm. The slaves claimed to be imprisoned there for a few months.
Holy fuck.
So they're suffering this torture for months.
They were emaciated, showing signs of being flayed with a whip. So these, just everything that you can imagine, these people have been through it and alive for months being tortured. They were bound in restricted postures and wore spiked iron collars.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Rumors were that there were dead bodies found in the attic. So they had this like torture chamber, and I guess it had like another room, like an attic. And then this gets worse. Oh, no. So we might have to prolong the skipping.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning too. In this attic, and again, this is rumors because the newspapers would not publish what happened. They said it was like too gruesome, like they would not. So everything from here is rumors. I don't know if it is exactly true. I checked multiple sites, went through everything. This is what I found, but a lot of it could, it could be made up.
Yes, being told so many times, or it could be not even the scope of what actually happened because people didn't want to pass on how cruel the actual situation was.
But what I'm going to tell you right now is really freaking cruel.
Okay.
So heaps of corpses, organs, and limbs were just around in like buckets.
Ew.
Slaves were pinned to tables or cramped in small cages. So
What
they
the
had,
fuck?
yeah. Live bodies with their eyes gouged out, fingernails torn out were also just in the room. Buckets of genitalia.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Suits of human skin.
This woman is insane.
Yeah, this is fucking crazy.
If this is true, this woman is absolutely nuts.
Sliced penises.
Yum.
Bottles of blood. Makeshift sex change operations.
So she's just like
Doing whatever she wants.
horrible things to these people.
This is experimentation.
Well, is it her or is it her husband doing
That's
it?
a good point. He's a doctor.
Because he's a doctor.
I mean, I'm sure it's her too, like for sure. But is he also like participating?
In it. Yeah, on it. Because he's there at that house that day.
Yeah.
Fishy. Super sus.
Seems a little suspicious to me.
A little
Little
suspicious.
So, continuing. Brains stirred with sticks.
Gross.
Women nailed to the floor by their intestines.
Oh my god, this is horrible.
Tongues sewn together.
Sewn together. Like
So two people.
Ah!
Yeah.
It's like a human centipede.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
a little
with
bit.
your mouth.
Mouth filled with animal feces sewn shut.
What the fuck is wrong with these people?
Gross.
A woman with skin peeled off in spirals to make her look like a caterpillar.
Oh my god.
What?
And that one was specifically mentioned like on a couple different things.
Yeah, that sounds horrific enough where that's
Yeah.
gonna like be repeated.
Yeah. And then another with her bones broken and reset so she looked like a crab.
What?
And this
the
was
fuck?
also-
That's the husband.
It's gotta
Resetting
be the
bones
crab
so they
one.
heal.
Yeah, crab
That's fucked
human.
up. Holy shit.
Yeah. So no details nor evidence of how many victims there were. So again, they wouldn't post anything. Like there's nothing you can find out there that tells you. So some say like there was 100 bodies, but there's no way to tell.
Right.
So all the rumors. After all this was uncovered by the bystanders, a mob of local citizens attacked the Lalaurie residence after the abuse of the slaves became known. They demolished and destroyed everything they could get their hands on.
Good.
Yeah. So they basically stormed the mansion. By the time the crowd could be dispersed, the property had sustained major damage with little left but the walls.
Wow.
So everything went in flames. They tried to destroy everything because of how horrific this was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The slaves were taken to Cabildo. It's just a building, a slave trading building. And that's where they were available for public viewing.
So they just got to be displayed at this point.
Yeah, so the New Orleans Bee, which was their newspaper at the time, reported by April 12th, 4,000 people attended to view the slaves to convince themselves of their suffering.
Wow. Because they couldn't convince themselves from just hearing it. They had to go see it.
They had to go
themselves.
see it. So they didn't, there was nothing I saw that said that they treated these slaves that like to try and heal them.
They
or
just put them
anything
on
like that.
display.
They put them on display.
That's so fucked up.
And a couple weeks later, at least 2 of them died.
Wow.
Yeah. Investigators later found several bodies, including a child buried throughout the mansion grounds.
Fuck.
Yeah. So the 12, the little girl, which might have been the child, they didn't specify if that was Leah, and then a couple more that they found.
That's so messed up.
That's already, probably almost 20, if not more.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Madame Delphine does get away.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So the family, in like, have you seen Marie Antoinette or know the story? And the family's like trying to like get away when they're like burning the capital of France.
No.
No?
No, I'm sorry.
Have you never seen Marie Antoinette?
I'm not educated on that. I apologize.
I've never seen it either.
They decided the French revolted because when they were suffering, when they were starving,
Right.
she told them to eat cake.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why this whole big thing revolted because they were poor and they were like,
I've heard the eat cake thing before. I didn't realize it was Kirsten Dunst. What a bitch.
I know. How dare she destroy the French?
Right? The time-traveling monster.
Okay. So, Madame Delphine does get away because she has one loyal servant, Bastien.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah. So among the mass chaos, her enslaved coachman brought her carriage to the front of the house, which, mind you, I sent you the pictures. it's on a street. Like,
Right.
there's not, like, a long, like, driveway you have to get into the front of the house. Like, you're on, like, the main road. So I don't understand how they, like, got to the front of the house with the mob.
People just fucking let them go
Yeah,
by.
it said the crowd was outside her mansion and then watched her step into the carriage with complete confidence, which angered the crowd. So this is what caused them, I think, to, like, mob. So this happened right before
This
they
was
went
them
into
being, like, fucking triggered.
Yeah. So they were trying to stop her, but they were unable before the coachman, like, left. They fled in a fast-moving carriage to a ship that was waiting to take her to Paris, France.
Wow. So now she's going to France.
Yeah, she's going to France. Yeah. So she lived in France till she died on December 7th, 1849, at the age of 62.
Wow. So she lived a nice old life for
Yes.
someone in their 1800s, in the 1800s.
Her death is still unknown. Letters were passed between her kids that speculated it could have been a possible lingering illness, but no one knows for sure. There's also issue where no one knows where she's buried.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And, yeah. So
No way.
it is believed that her children disinterred her, which means dig up her remains, in Paris and returned her bones to New Orleans. So, like, that's one theory.
So the population of New Orleans could piss on her grave, hopefully.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's where she was born and raised, so I guess in the sense she probably would have been, like, buried.
But no
in
one's
New
going to
Orleans.
tell, like, her kids aren't going to say where she's buried.
Right.
Because,
I would just
Yeah.
wish that information would leak. Just because, oh my God, what a monster.
So there was in 1941, a mysterious obituary plate was discovered in St. Louis No. 1 Cemetery. And it read, Madame Lalaurie, née Marie Delphine Macquart Carte, décédée à Paris, le 7 Décembre 1942. So
1942.
yeah, so they did not match. So that's why her location of the body is unknown. This thing appeared somewhere out of the blue. It didn't have the right date on it. There was rumors that she could have died in 1842. There's a couple other rumors that we're going to get to in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, her death is unknown. We don't know where she's buried.
If there's one thing that is definitely known about her death is that she went down. She did not get sucked off.
She did not get
There's
sucked.
no way she
There's
got sucked
absolutely
off.
no way. Yeah, she had to go down. Soon after Lalaurie disappeared, people claimed to hear phantom screams of her victims spilling from the house in the dead of the night. So
They should have burnt that house to the fucking ground.
it did catch fire. That's why I was saying when it was like when talking about like the walls were left, like this thing was burned down.
I would have been like, take the fucking walls down,
Yeah.
like take it down to the fucking, like just the dirt and the rubble.
Yeah.
That's it.
Not even like years later, like soon after, they heard phantom screams. So this place is
Wow.
already haunted
Yeah.
and it's brand new. Like,
That's totally like the thing that you always talk about, Robin, with like the
It's just like the history.
the scarred, like
Yeah.
something so
Through
traumatic happened in
time.
a spot
Yeah.
that it's scarred time. Like
Yeah.
that is 100% one of those places.
Yeah.
yeah, by 1885, the historical sketchbook and guide to New Orleans referred to it as Haunted House on Royal Street.
Wow.
So in the 1800s, it was a haunted house.
Wow.
They already knew. They're just like, there's no way.
Louisiana's first haunted house. Slap that sticker on.
Yeah.
So there are tales of hearing wails of agony in many different rooms of the house. Doors slamming, faucets turning on, and furniture moving on its own.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's got lots of haunted things. So among all that stuff, there was people would walk into rooms and they would find body imprints on the beds that no one
Fuck.
had slept on.
Wow.
That.
Yeah.
At least they're resting in somewhat, not in peace, obviously, but if they're laying on a bed, that's better than.
I was like, if they're
All
in
the
a bed
shit.
in the mansion, like, is it a family member?
That's what I'm thinking. I like it wouldn't be,
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, they
ghost of-
burnt the house, but like they clearly rebuilt the fucking thing.
They did, and it could have been because I couldn't find like exact specs on how much burned down. Like a lot of things were like to the wall, so it was stripped thin of like all the stuff in it. So it could have still been standing. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like the fucking structure was standing,
Yeah.
so they rebuilt it.
Yeah. Apparitions of slaves, some wearing chains, have been seen walking on the property. And allegedly, Madame Lalaurie's ghost has been seen nearby the mansion at St. Louis Cemetery where she once worshipped.
Wow.
Which is like what
Well, she
begs...
was such a good religious person, huh?
Oh, so
Going to
so
worship.
good.
She
But-
thought she would get sucked off.
Yeah, she did not.
She did not.
No, she stayed.
She's just stuck.
She's stuck. She ain't going anywhere. Is that more of a punishment to be stuck on Earth for eternity?
I've never been to hell that I can recall.
I've heard people consider
purgatory worse.
Earth as a purgatory, as you being stuck here on Earth.
So one of the premises of Ghost is the ghosts are stuck in the location they died. So there's like one ghost that dies in a car. And she lives in the back seat of the car. Like, she can get out and step around, like, the car, but she can't walk more than 5 feet away from it.
She doesn't technically live in the car because she's dead. But she's stuck in the car.
So wait, so what if the car gets crushed at the,
like it gets cubed? Is she just hanging out on the cube all the time?
I don't know. They did not talk about that.
Yeah, we have questions for the ghost people. We should have gone to the panel. God damn it.
No one was there.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
It was just showing a part of an episode, I believe.
That's such a bummer.
Yeah.
So much stuff got canceled.
So much.
Anyways.
It's okay. Yeah, so then that also begs to believe, like, was her body buried in that cemetery? Is that why she's haunting this? Or is it, like you said, like the scarred time? So is it just...
You just
like
see a repeat
loop?
of her doing horrible things.
Or seeing her walk to where she worshipped out of all the things that she could be doing.
Yeah. Her pretending to be... I mean, like, if you're fucking stuck on Earth because of the horrible things you did... Like, having to be forced to, like, go to your place of worship, like, to repent endlessly seems like, I mean, it's not even a punishment.
If you were a ghost...
It seems appropriate. Like, well, maybe I can do this and I'll get into heaven now. It's like, no, bitch. No.
No, you're just stuck.
If you were a ghost, would you do the same thing, though?
Okay, first of all, if I was a ghost, I wouldn't be a ghost who had to repent for this horrible
But what
atrocity.
if you were? What if you were her?
If I was her, I can't even imagine. I can't put myself in that fucking headspace. Like, I just can't. Can't put myself in that headspace because I'm not a fucking serial killer maniac. Like, I wouldn't ever treat a human being like that.
That we know of.
Okay, fuck you. If I did, it would be you.
Adam is not a murderer.
No, if I was, this show wouldn't exist.
Or would it? To be a cover.
That would be genius, but I'm not that smart.
Didn't you just tell us about the serial killer just today?
The Gigolo Beach serial killer.
Who was like, who would go on dates and say, have you heard about this serial killer? That's you right now.
To brag. Oh, yeah. Fuck you. I'm pretty sure it's you. You're gaslighting the fuck out of me right now, so.
Oh my God, am I in a house with murderers?
I probably. There's no way to tell, to be honest.
Oh God. Okay. So, the next information I found was the burned out mansion stood in its ruined state. So, that doesn't give me much information of what the ruined state looks like.
Right.
But after 4 years later, in 1838, it was bought by Charles Keffin and rebuilt by Pierre Trestor.
Knew it. I knew it was going to get rebuilt.
Yeah, it did. 4 years later, not even that big of a time frame. So it was rebuilt in the Empire style, which is early 19th century design, like American European design, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Charles Caffin only lived there for 3 months.
Too haunted.
Yeah, he claimed he couldn't sleep because he was plagued by strange noises and screams. He attempted to rent out the rooms, but people never stayed more than a few days.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like, if they even knew anything about what had happened there.
That place sounds haunted as fuck.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where it's like, yeah, I could see slapping the fucking hauntedest. Most haunted location in this place, like, for sure. I can't imagine what could compare to it.
I mean, Louisiana back then, like, I can understand, like, they must have had, I mean, obviously not another Delphine situation, but they had to have a lot of bad stuff being in the South with slaves. So
right.
I can see it being a haunted city.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So owner after owner had bad luck when it came to this property. So Charles Caffin wasn't the first owner, he was the first owner. He wasn't the only owner who had trouble.
Okay.
So they found their health, sanity, and wealth ruined by the touch of the mansion. So that's what a lot of owners like felt, because something happened to them at all these all the times that each one of them owned it. After Caffin, it was left to rot till 1874, where it was turned into a public high school.
What?
The fuck?
So it was a public high school, and then it was turned into an all-black public high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's some racist shit.
Mm-hmm.
That is. That's insane. I can't imagine going to fucking school there and knowing the history of that building.
And then it's like an all-black high school.
Yeah.
They fucking segregated them and put them in a place where it's like, hey, why don't you guys go to school in the place that's haunted by the ghosts of, like, your
the people that were tortured
who
there.
were fucking tortured.
Can you imagine going to school, which is already a miserable, like, experience, and then have to have that negative aura of, that just would have happened in there on you?
That's awful.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So this timeline about the owners, I'm going to tell you, I had to research on a couple different sites, and they were all jumbled because most of them just listed, like, it's been this, and this before they listed out the instances. So I had, like, to build and go back to put the years on these. So the years might be off. I am not, like, true to that school was built in 1874 or this or that, but this is the timeline I built.
Right, we're not historians, so blame,
I'm not a
blame
historian.
the internet, folks.
I tried my best, though. So in 1882, an English teacher turned it into a music and dance school for girls.
Okay.
However, eventually accusations came against the teacher for having improprieties with girls in the school, and it closed the next day.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and there was something I read somewhere else that said that ghosts were, like, haunting the children, and the teachers had no idea what was going on. But what had come out, like, publicly was that not an English, but one of the teachers was
blamed for it.
Yeah.
Or was the responsible party.
Yeah. So don't know exactly what happened there, but
again,
bad juju again.
So I've been reading this book called The Ninth House. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Spoilers if you guys are trying to read this or want to read this. People get possessed in it, and these ghosts are possessing these people to do horrible, horrible things. So what if, that's the situation in this case
with the teacher,
is that these ghosts are possessing people to do things they wouldn't normally do.
I'm not blaming the ghosts for anything on this one because they're the ghosts of people who were, like, horrifically tortured,
Yeah.
Unless there's the ghost of, like, Madame Lalaurie.
Right.
Who is, like, making people do horrible things.
Yeah.
Like, if she still has that sort of, like, influence, like, that's a horrible way to think of a ghost, like, being that powerful and that awful. Like, she's, like, pure evil.
Well, like, that one ghost from that
Supernatural?
movie, Sinister. Not Sinister. That's the other one.
Bagul.
With Bagul. I meant Insidious.
Okay.
So you know
that's
how
a demon.
The mom, the mom that is that horrible evil ghost, the really pale, scary lady who made her son dress up as a girl.
Okay.
Maybe it's that case where, Delphine is this scary ghost mom controlling all the other ghosts.
I like how conspiracy theory you get on stuff like this.
It could be.
It's horrible to think about. It's absolutely haunting.
Yeah.
I for sure thought you were going to go down supernatural route and go to the episode when they go into the supernatural convention, and it's the mom ghost and the three little ghost boys, and one of them has, like, the skinned head. Do you remember
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go down that road.
Didn't even think about it.
So after that, in the late 1800s, the mansion was turned into apartments, which housed dozens of tenants, mostly occupied by immigrant dock workers and their families.
Okay, so poor people.
Poor people.
Yeah, they're making poor people live in the haunted place.
Mm-hmm. Tenant turnover was relatively high, considering it had cheap rent.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was probably one of the cheapest places to live.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Children heard unexplained moans, disembodied screams, the smell of burning flesh, dragging of chains, and scratching noises under the floorboards.
Oh, my
Fuck
God.
that.
Yeah. Children also reported being chased by a ghost with a whip one night.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
She's a scary ghost running all the other ghosts.
I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm just saying, like, this is horrible.
Damn.
It could. The children are seeing all these things. And they say children are more susceptible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So there was rumors, like, the adults weren't really understanding, like, what the kids were saying until a couple other incidents started to happen. So one night, an immigrant dock worker came home to find his way up to the stairs blocked by a large naked black man in chains.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. And from what I read on, like, the articles, it said that, like, he, like, tried to, like, attack the man and, like, go through him.
Okay.
And, like, he went right through him. So it's like a ghost.
He
also.
passed
So
through him like, oh my God.
So it scared the living crap out of this guy, and
Wow.
he skedaddled.
Yeah.
It was like, hell no.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Another night, a mother found a ghost of a woman dressed in finery leaning over her baby in a crib.
Aww.
And that's got to be like Delphine when she had one of her children, And
it could be Delphine. I don't know who else. Yeah, with finery would be.
yeah.
Yeah, finery is the main word there that makes you think it's her.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was after, like, all that stuff happened. All the tenants, like I said, kept leaving, and eventually it was shut down again. So building empty. The next owner of the mansion turned it into a furniture store.
What?
Yeah. So completely different business. While it was a furniture store, he kept having strange stuff happen. He thought vandals were damaging his furniture every night, leaving a strange dark liquid on the merchandise. Yeah. So
ectoplasm.
Or blood.
Yeah, something dark and gooey was left on stuff. He'd clean it. Next night, it would happen again. So it was like ruining merchandise. He decided to wait one night with a shotgun. Furniture was once again damaged with no sign of someone coming in or leaving the building.
Wow.
So it was all of a sudden just showing up. And after that happened, he didn't stay too much longer there anyways.
Yeah, how the fuck can you run a business in a place like that?
Yeah. So a squatter was the next person to enter this residence.
Oh, no.
His name was Jules Vigny. He moved in and lived there for a few years, and he died in 1892 in a house among filth and squalor, it was said.
Oh.
There were bags of money found near his body and stuffed in the mattress.
What the fuck? That's bizarre.
Yeah, so it was filthy beyond all reason, but he had money around him. So that was something weird. And from what I read, people did not want to go look for the treasure because they were too scared to step inside the property.
Nope.
They're like,
it's
the money. It's that house's money. Yeah. In recent years, it was once again turned into luxury apartments. When renovating, they pulled up the floorboards in part of the house and found multiple human skeletons.
Wow.
So
more victims.
they didn't even. When you say the walls were left, they didn't even. The floor was still there.
So I was saying, tear this thing down to the fucking studs and knock the goddamn
foundation down. I'm telling you, though, they didn't have the technology and they didn't have the manpower. You cannot
say that they didn't have the technology to tear a fucking house down. They had big hammers.
I think in their rage, like I said, because they did it until the crowd was dispersed. So eventually, like, police were coming to try and break it up. So they maybe didn't have time to break it down.
We're going to sell the house. Yeah. I would have gone back there and been like, fucking shoot me then. Because I'm knocking this fucking house down.
So, and you remember how I said earlier that the children could hear scratches coming from the floorboards?
Oh, no.
So there was rumors, again, there was another rumor that before Delphine fled, they had sewn the mouth shut of a bunch of slaves and stuffed them under the floorboards alive.
Oh
and because they couldn't speak or anything, when everyone came, no one could hear them.
Because it was so loud and people were fucking rioting and burning the place.
So again, that's like the rumor, but that would make sense of why there was
skeletons in the floor. That's why they heard wailing and screaming coming from the fucking house immediately afterwards, because people were still fucking trapped.
Yeah!
That's exactly what was happening.
It wasn't phantom screams, it was alive.
God, the screams were from people.
Yeah. Whew.
This is horrific.
Yeah.
This is a really good topic, Marsha.
Thank you. Okay, so
you can fuck it up in the end. I don't know, but this is good so far.
Okay, I'm glad it's okay. The next owner was in April 2007, Nicolas Cage.
What? Nick Cage?
Nicolas Cage.
Oh
Nick Cage? National Treasure Nick Cage?
National Treasure Nick Cage. Con Air, Mr. Con Air himself.
Oh my god.
Such a good movie, too.
Did you guys see his new movie?
No, I want to,
The vampire one?
Oh, we did see it.
That one.
Renfield?
I thought you meant the other one.
Okay.
We saw Renfield.
It's as shitty as I wanted it to be, and it was amazing.
Yeah, we went and saw it. I was like, it's exactly what you expect it to be, and it just fucking nails it.
It does. It did such a good job. It was funny and stupid, and it was so fake that I was like, but it was exactly what I expected from a Nicolas Cage vampire movie
someone
to
says
be.
Nicolas Cage Dracula, you're like, whatever movie you pictured in
None
your head
of
that
the
moment,
logic
exactly
they have.
right.
Yeah, it was.
None of the logic makes sense.
It's just so funny, though.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It was funny. So he purchased it for $3.45 million in 2007.
That's so much.
That's a lot of money.
Dude.
It worked out okay for him because he wasn't cursed by purchasing this property.
I mean, he got fucked with the IRS pretty hard.
Hold it back right there, because he was. He began to suffer financial difficulty at this same time, and the property was listed for auction 2 years later as a result of foreclosure.
Can you imagine buying a house at the height of the housing crisis, like when the prices were still inflated? 2007, you said, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, about like the worst possible time you could buy a fucking house. And, you start going into financial instability, then the market crashes, and now you own a home, a haunted house that is like horrific, and you spent almost $4 million on it. Like, that is not a wise decision, Nicolas Cage. Come on, you're better than that.
I thought he got so much money from finding that treasure.
I hate you so much.
Well, then he spent all his money on stupid stuff like this, and he lost it all.
Yeah.
And now he lives in Vegas.
That's crazy. He lives in Vegas?
You know that he lives. I mean, I think he's got a house somewhere else, but he lived in Vegas.
I know he took on a lot of movies to get out of his debt to the IRS, and that's why he was like putting out such stinkers for a while. But like, I imagine at this point he has money again, and he's a Coppola. His name is actually like Nicholas Coppola. Like
I don't know
Francis
what that
Ford
means.
Coppola, like Sophia Coppola. They're like Hollywood royalty. He just changed his name to Cage so that he would like start his. You know, he obviously got help from his family and his family name, but like so that people wouldn't associate him with the Coppolas because he wanted like to make his own name as an actor.
He didn't want to be nepotized baby.
Exactly. So I'm sure he still got opportunities because of his family, but he didn't want like the general public to
he
know.
He had the door open for him.
Yeah, for sure. But like people fell in love with Nicolas Cage not knowing he was a Coppola for a very long time. So,
oh, yeah.
He's crazy. I've talked about him. I love him. Like crazy in a great way. I love crazy, but
yeah,
he's done like some bizarre shit. Like when he met Patricia Arquette, the day he met Patricia Arquette, I'm pretty sure it was her. He told her like, "I'm in love with you. Like it's love at first sight, and we're gonna be married." And
did they ever get married?
She like entertained it for a while, and she was like, "Sure." And he was like, "I can prove my love to you." And she like wrote down a list of things like, "You have to do all these things to prove you love me." And some of them were fucking crazy. Like she wanted a original signed copy of Catcher in the Rye from J.D. Salinger, who's like a notorious recluse. And within 24 hours, he had everything on her list, including that. Because he's a fucking Coppola. He can get whatever he wants. And it freaked her the fuck out so much she didn't speak to him for a year.
No.
Wow.
And then like a year later, she was like, you came on kind of strong. He's like, that's how I felt. And then they got married.
Aww.
And divorced.
Oh.
But like, he's that kind
of like... You could say it was gone in 60 seconds.
Wow.
Oh, God.
I hate you so fucking much. He's an eccentric dude. So buying fucking Lalaurie mansion for $4 million is right up Nicolas Cage's alley.
So now it's privately owned.
Just privately owned?
It's privately owned.
Did they do tours or anything?
Not from what I saw. So
they should burn it to the fucking ground. They should 100%. They should build a fucking memorial on top of it to all the people that died there. And just at the bottom put like, fuck Madame Lalaurie, whatever her name
Lalaurie.
is. And just, that's what a horrible, horrible place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, what do you have to holy water? Like, fill it, make it a pool.
It would have to be a pool
holy
of
water.
holy water. And it'll probably just boil and turn to blood overnight.
Oh, God.
She is, oh my God. This one was horrific.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we didn't do this research. This would have traumatized me if I was doing it.
Wow. So to leave you off before the very end with a conspiracy theory.
Yay.
I know how much you love those.
Yeah.
So two writers, Victoria Love and Lorelei Shannon, released a book called The Mad Madame Lalaurie in 2011. In this book, they question why Louis Lalaurie was left out of all the accusations.
Yeah, no shit.
They believe that he, in fact, committed the horrific acts, conducting medical experiments on unwilling slaves to further his knowledge of medicine. So, I mean, and some of the things that we know already was he was there the day of it. He obviously fled with her.
Right.
Like, the whole family fled together. So it's like, what is this connection after she wanted to be separated from him? And she already said that he was kind of a horrible human being to her.
Yeah,
so,
and she in public at least treated her slaves with like kindness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one's interesting.
Yeah. Court records also showed she freed two slaves, one in 1819 and one in 1832.
So she seemed nice.
She seemed nice.
She had the capacity for humanity.
Yeah.
It was when it came out that this guy was abusing her and stuff like that, that stuff started coming out that she was abusing her slaves.
Yeah.
So it could quite possibly just be him abusing the slaves.
Yeah. So they believe she may not have possibly liked what he did to their slaves, and that's why she freed two of them to try and like help at least two escape.
And then he threw her under the bus.
And then that they said again that he was abusive. So I mean, if she said they were abusive, the kids also agreed, like, yeah, he was abusive. And then they believe the grave plaque found at the cemetery was a hoax meant to fool people she was dead when she arrived to live out the rest of her life.
Oh, wow. That's fucked up.
So that's something else that another, like a conspiracy theory is that she didn't die in 1842 or 49, that she faked her death so that she could come back under disguise to live in New Orleans.
Wow.
Further, yeah.
God, this one's so fucked up.
So, I mean, that would make sense. Like, if her ghost was around, I was like, that could also, she came back.
Her,
yeah.
Like, walking around, people were like, I swear to God, I saw her.
Yeah. She was just going to church to worship. She was alive.
Wow.
Probably wearing a white gown, like, being, like, mysterious.
Right. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This one's horrific.
Yeah. So that was the conspiracy theory. So we don't know. Like, I mean, nothing that in the report, it's all about Delphine. Nothing is really talked about.
I thought totally we're gonna get back to why he was there, and it just like we just skip past it, and it's like, oh yeah, he was there.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. It was like I found all this information. And it was like then these points started making sense at the very end. Like that's weird. Like
it makes sense why they were.
Why did they mention this specifically that he was there? Because that was mentioned like in the newspaper that he was there. Like
wow,
why?
That's so
weird.
crazy.
So that is Lalaurie Mansion.
Very
nice.
Good job.
Very fascinating. Very horrific.
It definitely piques the interest of people like us who are just like, that's horrific. Tell me more.
Yes.
So it's there's no fucking way that place is
I didn't
haunted.
realize it was all these different buildings, all these different companies after.
Yeah, it had such a life after into many different things, but none of them lasted.
It's an atrocity that fucking place is still standing.
Can you visit it now in like a museum or go through it?
It's well built. Like they had a third story built onto it in the later years.
Okay.
And it ended up being one of the tallest buildings on the square. That's what it was like set in 1923.
Wow.
So it's still, you can go, you can see it. Again, it's privately owned from what I can tell. The owner is not doing any kind of tours or anything, so it's not like a haunted museum or. But you can see it from the outside. It is literally in the French Quarters in one square.
What if the private owner is like an
alien, a werewolf? I'm trying to predict the thing you're about to toss out.
Like not an heir. What is it called?
A relative?
Yeah, like a relative, but like descendant.
And he's trying to bring back
the family.
Lalaurie.
No, that'd be crazy though.
Oh man!
But it's just like it's still in the family, you know.
That's fucked up, and yeah.
That man is going to have a horrific life, I hope.
I was going to say, hopefully he gets fucking haunted to shit. But yeah, I can't imagine owning that place privately. Like, I wonder if they actually live there, if they just own the property because they're waiting for it to like accumulate in value. But oh my God, this one was rough. Mm-hmm. For sure. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for
fascinating.
coming
on. I loved it. Was okay. Again, I'm not a historian. I did my best on my research. So if any of this is like, I looked at multiple websites that looked as legit as possible. So if something is not as what I said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you're like, that's inaccurate, tweet at website. Don't tweet at us.
Yeah.
So
don't add us.
We're relaying the information we were able to accumulate.
Yeah, because I mean, this was hundreds of years ago. There wasn't that great of...
Yeah. There's barely any records being kept most of the time. The fact you could find anything is...
Especially about slaves.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah. So, all right. So I do think that's just about everything we have for this episode. Marsha, thank you so much for coming on. You did an absolutely wonderful job. I think we're going to try and have a few guest spots here and there. Like, we definitely talked about taking time off last year around this time because we got burnt out. We had a hiatus. And, you know, I think it's a really good, like, compromise to see if anyone wants to, like, kind of guest host. We're not going to turn over the keys to the podcast just about anyone, but like folks who've been like long-standing listeners we've been trying to get on for a while, we'll probably reach out to and see if they want to like come on and do a guest topic. It is a ton of research. It's a lot of work, as Marsha proved. But I thought it went very well. So Thank you so much. Everyone, when you listen to this episode, let us know what a great job she did because that support is always very needed. And it's just, I don't know, we had a really good time with this episode.
Yeah.
So if you have any stories, it doesn't have to be necessarily about the horrible things we talked about tonight that you want to share that's like supernatural, true crime, paranormal, extraterrestrial, or coincidental, we love to hear that stuff. Please email storytime@scaryish.com or go to our website, which is scaryish.com. You can click on contact us, fill out that form, and it comes directly to us. Or you can hit us up on social media. Facebook is facebook.com/scariyishpodcast. Anya agrees. Twitter is @scariyishpod, and Instagram is @scariyishpodcast. Robin, for folks who'd like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scariyishpodcast. Those are monthly donations with tiers starting at $1. You can also go to ko-fi.com/scariyishpodcast. And those are one-time donations.
Cool. And I think that's just about everything we have for this episode. So good stuff. Since you were the guest of honor and you did the woo intro, Marsha, do you want to do the outro?
Keep on creeping on.
And we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
They do that?
Yeah.